Well, welcome to this BCStrategies podcast. We've entitled this A Tale of Two Conferences, and we are going to recap conferences that happened in very different places. WebexOne in Fort Lauderdale that will be represented by myself and David Maldow. Hello, David. Welcome.
Hello, hello.
And then we have the NICE Analysts Summit, which was in Zambia. It's Zambia. Yeah, I think I say that right. But that is, and we will go for expert pronunciation and all the details to Blair Pleasant and John Arnold. Welcome, Blair. Welcome, John.
Thank you, Kevin.
All right, back for more.
There you
I'm ready
go.
to
Well,
go.
and John, I see you. I know you're like me. You're based out of Toronto, so I feel that the safari hat is perhaps not for Toronto, and I imagine that was an appropriate attire for your venture to Africa. Is that correct?
Of course, I may never wear it again the rest of my life. So give me one more chance, please.
Well, there you go. Well, so why don't we start with you, John, since we are recording this on Halloween. It'll get we'll post it a few days later, but happy Halloween for those that are watching this. And John, this is good that you've dressed up as a I guess as a safari lead. But so at a high level, give us this overview. I mean, this is like a bucket list trip and location. So the NICE Analyst Summit. Give us an overview. How was it?
Well, anyone who knows the company, whether you've been to the events or not, they don't do anything halfway, right? That's their style. And all I can say is, if you can afford it, that's your choice. They don't have to take us to these places. But this is, I think, Blair, 4 years running. They've had some form of an exotic location. And of course, it's a hard thing to say no to. This is the busy season for all of us for going to events, right? So I had 4 events I could have gone to, and I would have just as much wanted to enjoy going to the Cisco event, which I went to last year and spoke at, and you guys did too, I'm sure. And it's like, I feel bad. That's the biggest downside of us being independents. We can only be in one place at a time. Forrester and Frost can spread it around and send different people to different places. But for us, this was the one to be at. And it's no slight on the other ones I couldn't go to. So the setting is really, sure, it overshadows everything. But where NICE, I think, kind of separates themselves, and I know Blair will kind of go on this as well, from the other vendors, is just their attitude, their mindset about the value and role that analysts play. They recognize that in probably more directly than anybody else. And it's to the point of saying, well, geez, why are they treating us so well? And it's not to reflect their namesake, that's for sure. They have a culture of doing everything kind of at the best, and they're getting the results. So it's really hard to knock what they're, how they go about doing things. So the event itself, it's a long way to go. I'll just say one more quick thing. 2 days to get there, 2 days to get back for what was basically a day and a half of content. Yeah, that seems a little ridiculous, but the content quality was, great as it always is, and it would be the same regardless of where they would hold it. But, the rest of the time while you're there is really, that's the good stuff. I mean, the content you can get anywhere. Yes, the presentations have their own kind of energy, especially their CEO, Barack. But, it's the relationships, the connections, kind of getting closer to the customers, closer to the partners. And of course, any in-person event can provide degrees of this, but they do it at a scale that they make it accessible. And it's just us. Like WebEx, and you guys will talk about that, was for everybody. Customers, partners, there's thousands of people there. It's just us. It's a little bit like, it feels like a club, 30, maybe 40 people tops. But we're on our best behavior. They're on their best behavior. And we really are there to learn and share. And I think that comes out in spades. And it's just, you walk away thinking, yeah, this was time well spent. And it's their choice to put it where they put it, and that's fine. If they hold it next year, smaller place, we'll be there just as well. It's we've formed those bonds at this point. We're a small community, and they want to keep it going too. And Blair, I'm sure you're going to echo a lot of this too.
Mhm.
Well, let's for contrast, let's go to David Maldow. I mean, we were both in Fort Lauderdale. I think I was telling John and Blair, I'm pretty sure I saw a seagull as animals. I took no pictures of elephants or lions or what have you, but David, WebexOne, and I know John, you said it is, yes, it's like, I don't know, 2,200 people in person, but the certainly the first day is more focused, and it's just kind of an analyst event. David, what were your key kind of takeaways? And and we weren't in Africa, but how was Fort Lauderdale? Whoops, you seem on mute.
Sorry about that. It was a great event, and it is a trade-off. If you do a big event, it's less intimate. If you do a small intimate event, there's less stuff going on. I think the WebEx analyst team does a great job of making it sort of a mini analyst event within the event, because although it was a big event, it still felt intimate. I had plenty of time with. It's not their responsibility to make a party for us to talk to each other, but I feel like that's a very big service that they do with these events. I'm always like, invite everyone, because hanging out with y'all, the conversations in between the sessions are magic. But there was that kind of intimacy, but they gave us plenty of time with the execs. They gave us plenty of time with customers. We had a lunch where they sat us down at tables with customers just to talk to them, and good customers too. So I felt like they sort of try to give us the best of both worlds. Big event with music and celebrities and 3 days, a huge hotel, but also tracks within it to give us that intimacy and give us the coverage that we need.
No, yeah, that's a good overview. And so maybe now, Blair, I mean, John did a good job painting kind of the overview, and we know that NICE brings you to nice places. But maybe kind of drill down and I mean, what were the opportunities and what were kind of the key takeaways from the NICE Analyst Summit?
Yeah, so it really is an experience. It's not just an analyst event. They really do focus on making it an experience. So what I really liked about it was, and I was going to look up to see what the African term is, but they really opened the kimono, or whatever the African version of that would be. They talked about, how they decide on the specific LLM models for each use case. I mean, they really drilled down and showed us, what goes on in their thinking and this whole methodology that they have for it. And they really gave us more than just, okay, here's an update on our product, which they did. They talked about Empower, which, they announced a few months ago, but now it's really out there. So they really talked a lot about Empower, which is basically, it's the latest evolution of the CX1 platform. So it has all the AI capabilities infused in it. So the idea is to help increase adoption. So every customer, every NICE CX1 customer is going to have access to this new architecture. They don't have to do anything. It's just part of the latest release. So that's really going to help increase adoption of things like, Copilot and automated knowledge and content generation and things like that. So it's, customers don't have to do anything. They're going to just get this next generation that has all these, AI capabilities. And the idea is, AI and humans working together, and they provide feedback to each other. So in one of the demos, the virtual agent went through some stuff with the customer, and then it was transferred to a live agent. And then afterwards, basically the AI asked the live agent, what could I have done to have improved this? And the agent said, well, next time, if you can explain blah, blah, blah to the customer, that would help. And then it was tied into the workflow and, validated, and boom, it's pushed out. And the next time this workflow comes up, it'll have that, the improvement that the that was recommended. So just, really drilling down into how things work and how they're doing things was really important. So we learned a lot about this CX Empower, again, this hyper platform, this latest generation of CX1. We learned about, how they decide on the LLMs. We just got and we got lots of demos. And so they were really able to drill down into things and into detail, which I appreciated. And we also got to spend time with the customers that they had there, and the customers were great. They were awesome. And also partners. I spent a lot of time talking to the NTT guy because he and I are totally in sync. Oh, and Kevin, you would have loved this guy because we were talking about user adoption and change management. So we got into the whole thing about user adoption and how important it was. So, we spent dinner together, and they gave out these African drums because they had, African drum performers, and they showed us what to do. So, I'm sitting there with the NTT guy and we're drumming. And then when that was done, it was like, so let's talk about user adoption. So, again, it's experiences tied in with, interact. So NICE refers to it, I think, as content, conversations, and connections. And that's really what it's all about. There was tons of content, lots of connections, lots of conversations, collaborating. So it really accomplished what it set out to, I think. So what else? We learned a lot about this new platform and their AI and their thinking behind the AI. We heard a lot about, just the company and how they can spend so much time and money on innovation because they've got a lot of money and they're doing really well. They're profitable, and they just put the money back into their R&D so they can do things faster and faster all the time. And they talked a lot about, all the innovation they're doing. And during executive Q&A, I asked, when are others going to catch up? You're doing all this great stuff, but when do you think your competition is going to catch up? And Barry Cooper basically said, you're assuming that we're going to stop innovating and stop what we're doing. So if we stopped, yes, they would catch up, but we're going to, keep doing what we're doing, and we're going to still stay, several steps ahead of everybody. Yeah, and we could definitely see how they're doing that. So, yes, the location was amazing, but we got a lot out of it. And would we have gotten as much if it was in Orlando or Vegas? Who knows?
Yeah. I just want to add to that one of those points, Blair. I think in my mind, NICE and probably Zoom are the ones who seem to be the most R&D centric in the way they do things, and they're prioritizing it. I think NICE is running at around 14% of revenues consistently spent on R&D, and they've shown us the numbers on over time and currently. So when you think about they're spending right now, I think it's over $300 million a year, and they said they have, I think, 3,000 AI trained people, in their R&D capacities. That's the kind of critical mass you need to keep it not just going to the next step, but to the next level. And that's kind of the way they're thinking. And Zoom is features on features on features on features, and eventually it translates into something richer. And NICE is kind of doing that too, but they're also thinking a little more out there because they have the luxury of doing it. And I guess at some point we'll talk about the MQ that came out from Gartner for this CCAS space. And, they're at the top now. And this kind of stuff, cumulatively, it kind of pays off at some point. And, whether you like Gartner or not, that's all they're talking about right now is look at us. We're number one, top of the quadrant. And so when the results show, it validates so much of everything else that you're doing, right? That they're not chasing rabbit holes and getting no results. They're getting results.
Right.
Yep. Yeah. They said because of their unmatched profitability, they're reinvesting in innovation, and 1/3 of their employees work in R&D, and they've got 650 who are AI engineers. So, other companies, can't come close to this. So that's why they are so innovative. And also, it was interesting that Barry spent some time getting into their whole innovation process and how, they start in September or, whenever it was. And, they have a team that gets together, and he went through the whole process because I know some of us were concerned with Barack, the CEO, leaving because, we see him on stage and he's the one who's presenting this, incredible innovation story. So we're like, oh my God, what's going to happen when he leaves? But there's a whole team behind that's works on it for months and months and months. What's the next thing going to be, and what are we going to be focused on? And they spend a lot of time iterating and reiterating. And there's this whole process that Barry laid out. So innovation is just so crucial to them. And obviously, as John said, it's paying off.
Right. The
Well,
strategy. Right? Barry
yeah.
talked about strategy. And as long as they keep executing on the strategy, their game plan will work. It's not that they're, like you said, we're not pivoting because we have to, because we've misread the market. They're defining the market. At least that's the way they talk about it.
That's exactly what they said. Barry said, we've got a winning strategy by predicting the future, by having the power to influence it. And we're executing with urgency by aligning people with goals.
Yeah. All right. So to not take anything away from Cisco.
Yeah. So no, that's good. And I just want to pivot. I want to pivot back to Fort Lauderdale, because I mean, I think the things that you brought up are really what us as, kind of analysts. I'm part analyst, part consultant, which means I more kick the tires in the real world sometimes, as when I put my consulting hat on. But I would say with these events, like if we look at WebexOne, okay, so Fort Lauderdale Diplomat Hotel, nice place, although the hotel was under renovation. So I feel it would be like
Diplomat always under renovation.
Well, but I saw pictures of what it's going to be whenever they finish. It'll be lovely. But once again, it's not so much about the location. It was convenient. I'm heading from Toronto, same time zone. It's a quick flight down to Fort Lauderdale. So that was all good. But for me, what I really appreciate with WebexOne and with the Webex team is, I have Jitu Patel, who's the EVP and Chief Product Officer, Anurag Dhingra, who took over now as the SVP and General Manager Collaboration, Snora Kesbu. I mean, so they're all there, and it's a very, it's a small group. It's, similar. It's the club. It's the 30 or 40 people. They have lots of time. That first day is all analysts, lots of Q&A. Of course, there can never be enough time for Q&A because analysts, we're inquisitive folks, so we always run out of time. But, I appreciated, and they really do provide deep detail, and they are also very, very interested in the questions and the feedback. There was another gentleman, Gavin Ivester, who heads up their design and UX, who did a deep dive into how does Cisco and Webex make decisions around, kind of the whole design of the UI.
That was awesome.
That was awesome, right? Because it was, I mean, I love all the the details behind all these decisions. And then every year, I mean, this was only my third WebexOne, but Brian Stout, who is the VP of Go-to-Market, I mean, he just says, here's all the details of how we're going to get the message out. I mean, 95% of Cisco WebEx sales go through partners. So here's how we're going to incent and motivate the partners. I thought that was fabulous. And then, David, as you said, there was customer meetings. My lunch was with the CIO from the Dallas Cowboys, which was fascinating because it was, it wasn't the typical AI. It was AI and sports. And the Dallas Cowboys are a fascinating organization because they make apparel and have medical imaging and a very complicated business. But one of the things I really enjoyed in the keynote, and this is where they brought in, kind of all the people, was they brought in, Jitu Patel had discussions with Mike Rockwell, who was the Apple Vision Pro designer. So that was super cool in terms of AR, VR. Alexander Wang, who is the CEO, I think he's 27, and he is just doing awesome. He's 27 and he's like running Scale.ai, which is just, I mean, amazingly smart guy. And then Fareed Zakaria, CNN, talked like global politics. So, I mean, this was one of my favorite things, because you have, Jitu Patel from WebEx, and you think it's going to be all about tech, but it was just really about amazing discussion. And quite frankly, that could have gone on for another hour. But, I appreciate that, WebEx, and I think this was a theme. They bring in the analysts, they're open to conversation, they promote the conversations, they bring in big thinkers. Um, and that's, I think, why we go to these analyst events, right? And I think, you know, there is something to be um, learned, and it is interactive, and that these in-person events, wherever they are, whether they're in exotic locations or near locations, I mean, I certainly get great value out of those, right? And I think, Blair, I mean, I saw there's been some discussion on, LinkedIn and other social media platforms, like, you know, should I mean, and this is always the case. Should these companies have taken the money that they spent on whatever they spent it on, and should they have, I don't know, donated it to charity, right? Which I always feel that's a losing argument, because, I mean, ultimately, sure, you could take all your money and, I don't know, do something else. But,
Yeah, tell that to Elon.
well, yeah, right. Or, yeah. But, I think that this is a great value. But the thing I want to come back to, and I'd like to go around and kind of ask all of you, because, you know, I mean, for me, it's like great. WebEx provides great food, and they had a nice venue, and there's a great opportunity to talk to the execs. But all that being said, I mean, I go back and it's like, you know, the truth is the truth. And I think, especially as independent analysts, I mean, we sort through this, and it's a great opportunity to ask questions. But I mean, I still, kind of write what I see and what I've heard, and I continue to ask critical questions. And I guess I'm just going to, throw it over to you, Blair. Like, um, now is everything you're going to write about elephants and lions? I mean, how do you?
No, and we have to maintain our objectivity. I mean, that's all we have as analysts. And yeah, it's not like we're giving awards and we're being bought off or something.
Right.
You know,
Or putting people in quadrants.
or putting people, yeah. I mean, I've been to analyst events that were in airport hotels.
Right.
I'm going to write the same thing, or recommend based on the quality of the product and the company, not on the event. The only thing I can say with the events is that we get to talk to the product people, to the execs. We get to ask questions. We get to really know the product and the company. So that's where it makes a difference. Like if someone asked me a question about NICE, there 5 people I can call and go and get the information that I need. Or if I have follow-up questions, I know exactly who to go to. So I have those relationships that helps me as an analyst.
Yeah.
Does it mean I'm going to recommend NICE to all my clients? No, of course not. When the situation is right, of course, but I'm not suddenly going to say, only positive things and nothing critical because of this event. And same with, events that I haven't been invited to. I'm not going to say nasty things about them because I haven't been invited. It just doesn't work that way. We're independent, we're objective, and, we do our jobs based on, what we always do, not based on, where the most recent event was.
Yeah. Well, and I think that that's a great point, and then I'll go to you, John. But I mean, I think that this is the strength of the BCStrategies group, because, quite frankly, if I went rogue and started saying things, I mean, you would all speak up and say, Kevin, what the heck are you saying? That doesn't make any sense. So, it's like we're a group of independent analysts and consultants that also oversee each other, and I think we keep each other grounded. And this is what I love about the podcast. But John, I mean, anything to add to kind of what Blair was saying there?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of tangents to this, but I think for the audience listening, there's a reason why there's only a handful of independent analysts. It takes a certain kind of makeup, I think, to be able to do what we do. And we're a very small branch of the bigger tree of the analysts who work for the firms, who they have much more at stake about what they say about their clients or vendors than we do, because their whole livelihood is based on their business relationships with vendors. We don't necessarily have business relationships with every vendor, and we give time to them. To be fair, analyst firms don't often give time to firms they don't have a business relationship with. We're a little more flexible that way. But to Blair's point about our objectivity, our integrity, that is all we have. And I also want to say the other side of the coin is, as important as it is for us to be objective and all the things that go with that and what we say and write, it's also a reflection of the AR function within these companies. And it's not surprising in a way that I would say this very straight up. The AR team that NICE has and what they stand for, I think, is also part of what sets them apart from the other vendors. The AR role is a very, just like independent analyst, you don't go to school to do these things. You just figure it out as you go. And there's a wide range of professionalism for the people in those roles. And I think you'd agree, Blair, I don't think anybody takes that role more seriously to hold it to a higher standard than Chris does at NICE. And I think that says a lot about why they do what they do and what keeps us honest, because they don't come to us with any expectations. We're taking you to this fancy place. You damn well better say some nice things. They don't do that. They don't hold that over our heads. They treat us like adults, not kids.
Yeah. And I think you bring up a key point, John, which is like the AR function. You know, it's so important because it's really is that, you know, to your point, Blair, it's knowing the people and it's that conduit to getting answers, right? So you're trying to write an article or you're trying to do a comparison across platforms and you reach out to AR to get the clarification. And it really, like that function, you know, if they provide you with accurate, timely information, it allows us to do a good job and really to inform, you know, kind of our audience, which is ultimately, I think, what we all, you know, definitely want to do.
They didn't ask us to vet our articles before we published them. I've worked with vendors who have said, what are you going to write about us? Can you run it by us, please, before you publish it? Well, wait a minute. That's putting filters on what we're doing. And there's a difference. And so,
right. And
yeah. So, because Chris knows us and trusts us, it's a two-way street. So he knows what he's getting with us, and we know what we're getting with them. And not all AR teams are created equal. And I'm not trying to put down anybody, but I'm just saying that they invest in us, and in return, we give them professional, feedback the way we're supposed to, not what we're expected to.
Yeah. No, that's good. And David, I mean, I know none of us would cede editorial control to the vendor, right? Because then we wouldn't be independent analysts. But I mean, any further thoughts to build on what Blair or John said?
Yeah, I want to half agree and half disagree with something Blair said. She said that we're not going to just say something nice about a company because they put us on a nice show. Absolutely. In fact, they like it when we say not nice things. Zoom just was very nice to me. Let me go to Zoomtopia. They didn't, it's a big deal and food and being nice to me and all this stuff. And I came back and I just put out a video about how it's too hard to find one of their features in their settings. Critical. And boy, is my LinkedIn lighting up with a lot of nice comments from people who work at Zoom who want to chat with me and have meetings with me, and they're being very nice. They like it. They appreciate it. If it's fair and helpful. So I'm not going to be nice just because, and if I don't like something, I don't like something. But you also said that we're not going to say anything mean about a company because they don't invite us. I think we should, because if the company doesn't invite this group, or at least two members of this group to their event, then they're bad at analyst relations. They don't understand the value of what we do, and they're not doing a good job, and they should be called out. I'm this close to naming some names right now, but I'm not going to. But there are some companies, you're giving credit to the ones who are good, and there are a lot who are amazing. You send them a question, boom, you get PDFs, you get email and a request for a meeting. They have the information for you. But there are some that not only do they not invite the people that need to be invited, they don't answer emails. How are you analyst relations if you don't answer emails from analysts? Blair's a little nicer than me. I think we should be calling them out. I think it does say something about a company if they're bad at analyst relations.
Well, they're not necessarily bad at analyst relations. They have their reasons for who they do business with and choose not to. And you could get vendor by vendor about this stuff, but I don't want to go there. But I do want to just quickly come back to what you guys talked about with Cisco. not to be, saying NICE is the be all and end all of innovation. I just want to say I didn't go, but I was on the pre-brief. We probably all were ahead of the event. And I just want to make a point to say Cisco's very well along on that innovation path too. I just wanted to say that the stuff that they were sharing with us, especially some of the 3D stuff, was really impressive. And so they're right on the ball with everybody else. So they just don't seem to get the love, and I'm not sure why.
Well, and
I was talking to some of the partners at the NICE event, who they represent lots of other companies, and especially NTT and some of the others. They do a lot with Cisco. So I was talking about Cisco quite a bit with some of the partners, and I think everyone agrees that Cisco has come a long way, especially on the contact center side. A few years ago, they weren't giving Cisco the time of day when it came to contact center and CX. And now it's like, this is a real product, and they're making a lot of headway and doing some really good stuff. So yeah, as John said at the beginning, we can't be at two places at one time, which is really a shame, because I would have loved to have been at the Cisco event. I always enjoy it. And especially, WebexOne, where it's just focused on, UC and collaboration and contact center and all the things that I cover, as opposed to the, Cisco Live or whatever, which, I haven't gone to in years because it's, networking and, all this other stuff that I'm not into. So I love WebexOne, and I was really sorry I couldn't be there. But, the cloning machine hasn't happened yet.
Well, there you go. Well, with that, I mean, maybe we'll have a podcast in the future when the cloning machine comes into existence. But this has been a great discussion, a tale of two conferences. I think there was a lot of similarities, and ultimately, I think all of us as independent analysts, and working with the vendors, there's lots of similar messaging, and I think we work hard, we spend the time, we ask the key questions to try to sort through and figure out what the differences are across all of these various vendors. So I always learn something when I get together with my BCStrategies experts. I thank you, David, John, Blair, for your time, and John, I mean, maybe you have to wear this hat forever now, but I don't know. It looks good on you, and I think that's your Safari T-shirt as well. So
there you go, straight from Johannesburg.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for your time.
Last thing, Kevin.
Okay.
How did we go this long without even mentioning Microsoft? Isn't that impressive?
Well, there you go. But this is the tale of two conferences. Maybe in the future we'll talk about other conferences, but today it was all about the NICE Analysts Summit and the WebexOne Analyst
Maybe
Summit.
that means Microsoft needs you better at AR.
I don't know, David. Maybe I don't know if that was one of the ones on your list.
I was going to say that's one that we should all be invited to.
You took the bait. Okay. You took the bait, David. Yep.
Well, thank you very much. And bye for now.
Okay. Bye everybody.